Welcome back to Studioloo. So today I'm starting a new series that really I'm looking to just kind of appreciate a little bit about our community of amazing junk journalers and paper artists on YouTube. So I'm starting this series called 5 Things That I Learned From, and it's going to be a series where I just kind of say thank you and feature a lot of really inspirational journal makers and paper artists and just people who have taught me some really great tricks of this craft. And I'm pretty excited about being a part of a community. And so yeah, I'm just flipping through an Edith Holden book so that you have something to look at while I'm jabbering on. But the first person that I wanted to say thank you to and feature in this series is actually Gayle Agostinelli. So I got started on my journal making journey not too long ago. It was sort of around this time last year, and basically YouTube, when you watch videos on YouTube, they sort of randomly recommend things to you that are sort of close to your interests. And so my interests and hobbies were always different kinds of art, and mainly the fiber arts is what I'd been working in for quite some time. But, I guess that somewhere along the way, YouTube just thought, hey, I'm going to recommend this video. And so that was basically how I got into a couple of journal makers making really incredible journals, one of which being Gayle. And I just got so completely, just comfortable with her videos. It's funny, but I find them extremely comforting. And there's just something about, a lot of different YouTubers that I just find comforting. I'm happy to watch them in my pajamas every morning while I sit with my kids and have a cup of tea, and it's really nice. And so I was very, very tempted to start this video by saying, hello everyone, it's Gayle, because I love that so much. It is the sweetest way to just hear her start her video every day. So yeah, what I'm going to share with you today are 5 things that I learned from Gayle Agostinelli, and I really hope you enjoy it. I will certainly link to her channel, although you probably already know it if you're in the journaling community. I will link to it in my description box. So here we go. So the first thing that I wanted to share with you that I recently learned from a Gayle Agostinelli video, I know that she probably learned it from someone else, and that's the kind of thing about this community, is that we're like a chain of information. So you could learn something from me that I learned from Gayle, that she learned from someone else, and so on and so on. So this is something that she just very recently did, and I think she called it Scrappy journal cover. So I'll just explain it to you, and then I will speed through the process so that you can watch. So this is basically a piece of fabric. It was actually, I just cut it down from a full-sized napkin this morning, and it's a cotton cloth, and it has this nice lace on the side. So it is the size of the journal cover that I want to make for this journal. So basically what I'm going to do now is I have this whole bag of scrap little pieces of fabric. So what you essentially do is you sprinkle them down and you just arrange them however you like, in a couple of layers. And then once you're done that, you're going to lay this on top, which is embroidery, what's the word I'm looking for? Embroidery fastener. Stabilizer, sorry, it's embroidery stabilizer, and it's a wash away stabilizer. So after you have all of your fabric on here, you're going to lay this on top, then you're going to pin across the whole project, and then you're going to basically crazy quilt stitch all over the entire thing to get it all completely fixed down. And then you're going to wash away the stabilizer, and what you're left with is a really cool journal cover. So I'm just going to speed through the process, and maybe at the end of this video I'll do a wrap-up of all of the finished projects that I come up with. So now we're all pinned. We've got this embroidery stabilizer on top of all the little bits and bobs. I've done a bit of tucking in the side, and I might do a little bit more as I'm sewing just to kind of make sure everything's inside there. And so let's get to stitching. I will get that done and then I'll come back to you and show you what it looks like. Okay, so here we go. I have done all of my crazy quilt stitching all over the top of this. It is all locked in. That's what the back looks like. So what I just did one frame of stitching around. I decided to use the zigzag stitch, and then I just kept changing direction, and I sort of went in concentric circles and then got to the middle and then started going, you know, in all these kind of patterns, and then I just basically kept crazy quilting until I got pretty good close stitches. So that's that. So let's wash it. Okay, so here we go. It is all washed. So this is what we have now, is this awesome journal cover. It's a totally fun scrappy quilt, and after it dries I'm going to take a look. I see maybe one little spot here, maybe two, that I could maybe add a few more stitches to, but even then it's not really of concern. As you can see, it's like, I think as long as you get your stitches close enough, they're good. And that's what the back looks like, and I absolutely love it. You know, you could put a strip of the fabric across and make pockets. I actually have this leftover from the edging that I could use here to make a journal pocket. So yeah, lots to consider. So that is number one. Okay, so the second thing that I learned from Gayle Agostinelli is how to make a really cool journal cover that is a padded quilted cover. So she made one with a fabric that she bought from Kathy Holmes' collection, from her flea market, I think it's Flea Market Fix, and it's like all these different like flea market inspired patterns, like things like tapestries and weaving. And so it's basically a bunch of squares like this. So while I did get completely addicted to that fabric and totally ordered some after watching that video, I decided that I want to make this journal with some of my fabric scraps. So of course a lot of us are sewing things like masks and all sorts of stuff right now. I'm always sewing anyhow, so I decided I would just quilt together in this kind of scrap way with a zigzag stitch a bunch of my scraps. So that's what I've done. So then what I essentially learned from Gayle is just about how you can make like a nice puffy journal. So if we flip this over and I lay down some, oh dear, let's move these little pins out of the way, and I flip down this batting. So you use batting, and then basically you're going to have a backing, like your inside of your journal, as well as an envelope. I have to grab the envelope. It just gives it the shape and kind of the strength. Then you basically can put some pockets on the inside and like this, and you know, you sew the whole thing. But the technique really is just, once you've got the envelope inside and the batting, you can now stitch along the lines. In her case, there were no lines, but she had like a boxed fabric. So, but I like the idea of using a little quilt like this to just make a journal cover. So I'm going to put this all together and I'll quilt the whole thing, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so I'm just going to recap what I did before I sew. So I sort of cut down the size of the quilt a little bit with my pinking shears. It's not straight yet, but that doesn't matter. I got the envelope, so it's just a regular large envelope for documents. And then for this, I already sewed on the pockets because I don't want those to cause any stitch marks on the outside of the quilt when I sew everything together. So now I'm just going to lay this down, and then I'm going to put that's the inside, and then I'm going to put the envelope on top and just center it. And then on top of that is where you put the batting. So the batting goes here. And then the quilt goes on top like that. I'm just going to line it up a little bit here, and then you stitch around first, and then you're going to stitch basically over these again. You're going to make the same stitch marks. So I will sew that and then I'll come back to you and I'll show you the final result. Okay, and I'm all done stitching. So we have this poofy quilted journal cover, and on the inside 2 pockets. And I just remembered I actually changed something up that I forgot to mention when I was talking about how I was going to sew this. I didn't attach this immediately. I first sewed the envelope and the batting to the back of this and did the stitches across all of the divides between the fabric, because I didn't want that to go through onto this paper because it would mess up these pockets. Then after I was done stitching them all together around the edges, I went back and I just did a line of stitches down the fold so that I'll have a nice clean fold line there and this nice detail on the outside. So there we go. We have a puffy folder, or not folder, but journal cover. So yay. So the third lesson from Gayle is this triple pocket. So this is made from a large book page, and it has 1, 2, 3 pockets basically. Let me take just a piece of paper here. So 1, 2, and then you would glue it from side to side at the back, or there's different ways you can glue it, which I will go through. This is the third thing that I learned from Gayle. So you start with a book page. This is from a large book that it was a German book about flowers, and you just fold it in half lengthwise. Then you fold it again from the bottom to the top. Then flip it over here. I mean, you could do it either way depending on which way you want your pocket to slant. I want it to slant this way. So you take the first flap and you fold it down. And then you take the second flap and you're going to just roll that underneath a little bit until you like how much is showing appropriately. You could go right up to the same crease as the other one. So I like it like that, I think. So that is your basic shape of your pocket. Now what I'm going to do before I do any gluing of any kind, I want to define the edges. So I'm just going to go around them in ink. And then the back one. And then the front. And I like this torn edge quite a lot. And then we need the little flap to come out from inside here, just to get ink on that where it's going to be visible. Okay, and then you just pop that back inside. Okay. So we'll put our ink away, and it's time to glue. So you just start by gluing up this side here. And then on this side here, sorry, let me move up a little so you can see me here. So it's right here. So we've glued this, and then we're going to flip that forward and lay it right down. And then the next part we need to glue is this internal flap. So just go around this edge with glue. Push that in there and glue it down. And then this flap, and then glue it down as well. So then you've got this little section right here that you need to throw some glue on. There we go, all glued down. Now what I'm going to do is just throw a little some kind of a fussy cut decoration on the front, as I did with the prototype. Maybe we'll use these little gray birds, and I'll just ink around them as well, just to give them a little bit of definition. And I'll go over them with the glue stick. There we go. And I'm just going to stitch all the way around this as well as I did with the prototype. You could do a lot more to this, obviously more decorating here. You could stencil over the whole thing. You could, you know, use sections of a napkin and decoupage on it, but basically it's great. You've got 3 pockets. So that's number 3. Okay, so number 4 is this faux front envelope, and I love this. It's a really cool technique that I learned from Gayle. So basically the back is just an envelope, and this is a rather large envelope, but you could do this with any size. And then the front is just this kind of faux sort of, you'll see. So pocket, you can put something inside the pocket, so the same piece of paper continues along the front, which is really cool. And there's this tab here, so you pull this up out of the tab and you have this whole flip out here, and then you have this flip up and there's a pocket here. You can put a journal card or a tag or a bunch of tags in, and then the same thing is here. So you could do lots of different variances on this. In Gayle's video, she did a demo of one that looked pretty much like this, but you could do like continuing hinged flip outs on this side, or you could do more hinged flipping on this side. You could do all sorts of different things. It's kind of like getting a handle on the idea of like flips and flaps and how to add sort of like more options than just one single kind of flat surface. So then the whole thing just pops under that tab and you're good to go. So that's the prototype. Let's make one. So first we start with an envelope. So on the back, I'm going to choose to ink this one in like a pinky purple kind of shade. So I'm just going to ink around. And I'm doing this a little quicker than I normally would, all of these tutorials, because I'm making this video. It has 5 sort of quick tutorials in it. So yeah. Then the other thing that I want to do on the back is stencil. So you put down a stencil that is the same, that will cover your whole envelope back. And then we just stencil. Sorry, this is such a big envelope, it takes a little bit of time to stencil the whole thing here. There we go. I think that's pretty good. Voila, stenciled. So then I'll move the stencil out of the way here and just cover up this ink. And now we are on to this side. So it's best to use one sheet of 12 by 12 double-sided paper. So with this one, I'm going to use this. So then you're just going to measure your envelope on your paper and grab a pencil here so I know where to cut. Right here and right here. Then we're going to cut this on my cutter. Actually, I think I forgot one thing that I wanted to do. So like I said, you can vary what you want to do with these. So with this one, I actually want to keep a little bit extra, enough to do a pocket on the bottom. So Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So then, yeah, we'll add a bit here. Right about there, so there's enough for a pocket at the bottom on one side. There we go. Okay, I'll show you what I mean in just one second here. Okay, so now we have to decide basically where we want to make the cut for the first section. So I'll just probably about here. Okay. I will flip over this envelope here. I'm just going to stand this up back here. There we go. So let's move the cutter over for 1 second here. This is the part that's going to be laying flat on the paper. Oops. Okay. So then we just want to measure to the end of this and just kind of make a little fold so we know where we want to cut, because we want to cut this piece off. We don't need this piece for anything, so I'm just going to do that with my scissors here. Okay, so then that's going to go there. And then just move my scraps out of the way. We're going to be using some of those. Okay. So first thing I want to do is grab my glue. Oops, that's not the glue that I want right now. Sorry, sticky glue bottle. Things never cooperate when you're trying to rush, right? Okay, so then we're just going to glue 3 sides of this. Actually, this one I think I want to glue down completely. I sort of felt like the last time I didn't really need this to be like a pocket. So I'm just going to glue it down. But you could make it a pocket. Gayle makes a pocket on hers, and I made a pocket in the prototype, but I didn't actually put anything in it. So I think it's good just as is. So then you just stick that one down. It's stuck entirely on the envelope. And then from that little scrap that I created over here, I'm going to use my tab punch to cut out a tab. So in Gayle's video, she has the whale tail tab punch. I don't have that. It's a retired punch. So then you're just going to glue just the tab part here. And then you're going to just stick it down right like that. Just the back section. You don't want the whole tab stuck on. There we go. I'll just let that dry. And now this, let me just make sure that I don't have that too far down. I don't. Just wipe any excess glue off there. It doesn't matter if you have any paper that's pulled off there, because you're going to be moving it again anyways. You're going to be putting this underneath it. So just measuring by putting this here, because this is one continuous piece of paper. Then what I want to do is just make a crease here. Now last time on the other one I left this pocket on the outside, but on this one I don't want to do that. I want to put this pocket on the inside this time. So we're just going to do this. Now for the time being we can just set this aside and we're going to focus on this. And what I was thinking I would do with this one, let me just look at the prototype again for reference. This one I used a whole large sheet to flip out. Okay. So I think I'll do that again. Yeah, I will. Okay. So what we're going to do now is just make, take some coffee dyed paper, avocado dyed scrap, whatever you have. I'm using avocado dyed paper. And before we fold that up, you're just going to put these beside each other for a moment. and just measure this against this here. So this is almost exactly what I need. So I'm just going to make a fold because this is going to be a hinge. So it's going to hinge between these two papers and it's going to connect them. So you only need about maybe a half inch to do that, if that. So then just fold in half until you have like a 1 inch piece of paper that's been folded in half, so that a ½ inch will be on either side on each paper. And then you can put glue on one side of your hinge. Don't put too much glue though, you don't want it to be too wet. And then stick it down on your paper. I'm just lining it up here neatly. There we go. Whoopsie. There we go. Paper's just a little bit thinner than the rest, so it wanted to pop up. Then we glue the other side of the hinge. Let's make sure you get to the edges. I'm just going to smooth that out a little bit. And just glue everything like that. And give it a fold. There we go. So then you have your hinge. Now what I'm going to do is just fold this up and just fold this back for a moment here. And just make sure that I have trimmed everything to the right size of the envelope. So let me just double check. I'm sticking this in here. Because sometimes when you add a hinge, it can shift things a bit. So I just want to make sure that my fold and everything is where I want it to be. Okay, so this needs to be trimmed a little bit. 1 second. I'm actually going to trim it to the same section as the hinge. There we go. Then I can fold this over and just take another look and just clean it up. There we go. Perfect. There we go. That's better. And then again, just checking to make sure that we're straight. Seem to have a little bit of a gap there. Gotta figure that out. There. Okay, that's better. So now we bring this up and we're going to put glue here and glue here, and that will make our first pocket. Like that. And then I forgot to put my little punch in there. One moment. There we go. I just like to have that little punch. Then on this side now we can put another pocket. So I think I'll use this paper here. And I only want to go, actually I'm going to go with the more purpley. Yeah, more purpley. I only want to go to about there. So I'm going to just make a little line here. You don't want to override your hinge. And then I'll just grab my cutter. Somewhere, there it is. There we go. And then make your little notch for your pocket. And what I did on the other one is I actually used the same stencil and stenciled over top of this. So I might do that a little bit here as well. Let's grab my stencil. There we go. That just adds a little bit to your stencil, your paper. Okay, and the other thing is you can round the edges of all these pockets too. I actually did that on the other one, but I'm just trying to get it done here quickly. So then I'm going to do another flip up here. So again, I don't want to go all the way to the tab this time. I need to be on this side of the tab. So I'm just going to cut this with my scissors, get rid of that, and then this one I will round the edges. Okay, and then again we need a little hinge, and I might actually just use this for that purpose. Yeah. Okay, so this is what we want to hinge. Then you just glue on the back and lie it down here and then onto this. And then just check and make sure that you're straight. Just press your line again, like that. Okay, and then that makes for some extra journaling space up here. You could even put a pocket right here, which is what Gayle actually did. She added a pocket right here to put little things in. But I think I'm actually good with it how it is. So yeah, that is the whole thing, basically, right? Like that. So then I'll show you what you can do just with this scrap. So you can put tags and things in this pocket, tags in this pocket, and then you can, you know, obviously right up here, right back here. The other thing that I'm going to do actually while I have this still here is I just want to cover this all with stenciling. And like these things, you can do a lot more than what I've done here. You can add more flips and more, you know, obviously you can glue decorative focal points on your pocket. I haven't done that. I'm just doing a basic quick one to show you the technique. And there we go. So that is a really nice, fun way to add something for a bigger page in a journal. Or you can do this with any size envelope. You can add lace to these. You can add decoration on the front. You can add a pocket on the front like I did with the prototype here, which I'm actually thinking that I might even do because I have still some of this paper left over. But I sort of actually like how the continuity of the paper is there. So I think I might just let it be. Yeah, although maybe a shallow pocket would be cute. Yeah, anyways, I don't have time to think about right now. So this is number 4. Okay, so now we are on the last one I'm going to share with you today, and this is the gate pocket. I learned this from Gayle as well, and it's a really fun pocket that just works like this. So there's all sorts of writing space in this flap, these 2 flaps, and then when you glue it down on a page, you would glue it either like that or, you know, down all 3 bottom sides, and you would be able to tuck something in behind. So let's get started on making this gate pocket. This is the prototype. Okay, so my supplies are all sorted out now. So what we begin with is a relatively large book page, like this one. Then you are going to first just glue it down because you need a surface at the back. So that's the back and the front. So Even though this one's not completely long enough, I only lose a little bit, so I think I'm going to go ahead and actually just glue that down on there. And then I'll just trim a little bit off. I'm just going to use glue stick. We do end up stitching around the edge of this. Move my paper out of the way here. Okay. Okay. Oops. I get crooked here. Oh, let's just start again. Start again. Okay, there we go. All right, now I'm just going to trim the excess paper off here. Toss that in my scraps. And then on the back, I also need to trim. I'm actually just going to get my cutter and do this real quick because then I know it will be nice and straight. And straight is what we go for here. Oops. Okay, and then just this long side. Okay. Move that out of the way. And then the next thing that we're going to do is just smooth this out a little. And then you're going to do your fold. So the larger of the two flap folds happens on this side. And then you don't fold this all the way. You leave a little bit of space. Just do a sort of a little bit of a smaller fold like that. Okay. Then the next thing is we want to make this into the gate shape. So it's basically just like cutting a tag. You can use your paper here as a guide. Your cut off piece. There we go. Perfect. So that's the inside now. So first thing is we want to collage on this a little bit. So I'm going to use this Porch Prints paper. So I'm just going to cover this whole flap side in glue, and then I will cut the excess off here. Okay. Sorry, get back on camera. I'm just trimming the excess paper here. For some reason, whenever I'm cutting, I tend to pull very close to myself. Okay, so then we have this nice covering. Let me just get rid of this excess stuff here, scrappy bits. And then we want to find some kind of a nice fabric strip to put here, kind of like the prototype. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I think I like that actually. Now, do I want to include the stitched part or not? This is leftovers from a little quilt that I made recently. I think I'll just use just this piece. So we'll go with that. Just grab the fabric glue here. This is the first time I've used this today, so it's, oh no, it's not going to take too long. Okay, just glue that down. There we go. So that's that side done. And now we need something to cover this side. I think just for the purposes of, actually no, I use some music paper. Maybe we'll collage a little bit with music paper. So let me just tear off the edge of this music paper. Okay. I think we'll just stress around the edge a little bit here. Okay, and now we'll cover this most of the way with glue. I think I'll leave maybe a little bit of the edge. We'll see. I just kind of want to keep the distress part right on the edge there. Okay. Let me just trim off that excess again and throw this in my scraps. Okay, so now we're left with this, and I think I want to maybe just add a little tiny piece of like something to the top there, just to collage it a little. This isn't as collaged as I would normally do. I'm just trying to do this in a quick way because I'm just showing you how to make this. So just pop this up here like that. And that kind of fills that in. So now we have the gate essentially. So I'm just going to set this aside for 1 second. And now we need to work on basically the closure of the gate, which is this. So I have to get something to back that with. I'm going to use a bit of a thicker paper because it will help the strength of the overall project. So I'm thinking I want something that will match but stand out a little bit. Yeah, maybe this one. Okay. So let's just glue this on here. Now we're just going to cut around and give it like a bit of a, you could tear around or you could cut around. The other one I tore, this one I'm choosing to just cut. Just just to give it a nice border, and also it strengthens the thickness of this piece. There we go. And then I will just trim this piece of paper off of here so it goes in my scraps. There we go. Yeah, so then that will sit on there just like that. But the first thing that we have to do, I'm going to do this off camera though, so that you don't have to listen to the noise. I'm just going to open this up, and I'm going to stitch all the way around this edge. And I'm also going to stitch around the edge of this. So I'll be right back. That just took a quick second, and we are back with the final 2 pieces that we have to put together. So, sorry, let me just move this out of the way. Okay, so here's the flower that I want to put on the front of the gate, and there's the gate. I stitched all around it, you can see. So, oops, little fluffies of fabric. Now we're going to connect this onto this piece. So you just have to kind of decide where you want that to be. So just about like half of it is going to get glued on. Just grab my glue here. So yeah, I'll just sort of mark it with my finger. So from about here, let's go around the edges and then in the middle. Okay. And again, just sort of reposition it how you like it and press it down. There we go, and we'll just check for any excess glue. We're good. Okay. Just give it kind of a press for a second. Our glitter glue dries so quickly, so I don't have to worry too much about it, but there we go. We have our gate pocket. So that just sticks down on a page like this. You would glue on the back, these 3 sides, and then you'd be able to tuck a tag or whatever you'd like behind it. So that is number 5. Thank you so much for joining me on 5 things that I've learned from Gayle Agostinelli. So I just wanted to say thank you, Gayle, and I will end this by sending hi and hugs to Gayle Agostinelli. And thanks everyone so much for tuning in. I will link to Gayle's channel in the description box, although I'm sure you definitely already know her. Yeah, this was just a little tribute, so have a great day.